Did anyone ever warn you that reaching 80 can feel like being thrown a curveball? No matter how tough, independent, or resilient you've been your whole life, this stage of life has a way of catching you off guard. It doesn't matter how much you prepared, how strong your habits are, or how much wisdom you've gathered along the way. Something about turning 80 opens a new chapter that feels unlike any other. And here's the thing. What makes it challenging isn't just the obvious stuff like slower walking or more doctor visits. Those are expected. What really takes people by surprise are the deeper, quieter shifts, the way people around you begin to interact differently, the way you start to notice time moving in unfamiliar patterns, and the way your memories suddenly feel louder, as if they're whispering truths you hadn't noticed before. These changes aren't written about in medical charts. They're not always spoken about openly, even among families. Sometimes you might even feel them, but struggle to put them into words. Other times, they sneak up on you when you least expect it. But here's the reality. Every one of these shifts plays a role in shaping the experience of life after 80. Understanding them doesn't make them vanish, but it can make them easier to face. And sometimes, just putting a name to what you're feeling brings comfort, strength, and a reminder that you're not going through this alone. So today, let's walk through some of those hidden realities, the ones that surprise even the strongest souls. Stay with me until the end, because while these truths might sound heavy at first, there's also power in recognizing them. With recognition comes peace, perspective, and the chance to live with renewed purpose, even in a stage of life that others might overlook. Let's begin. One of the first things almost everyone notices, whether they talk about it or not, is the shrinking of the social world. In earlier decades, there was a steady rhythm of visits, calls, invitations, and spontaneous connections. There were people to meet, places to go, and the sense that you were part of something larger. But after 80, that rhythm starts to fade. You may still hear the phone ring now and then. You may still welcome visitors or join family gatherings. Yet the frequency changes. The energy feels different. What once felt natural and flowed begins to feel more scattered, more fragile, and at times painfully rare. Friends who used to be just a call away may now be struggling with their own health, living far away, or in some cases, no longer here at all. Family members still love you, but their lives are filled with responsibilities, jobs, children, and obligations that pull them in different directions. Without even realizing it, you begin to spend more hours in silence than in conversation. It's not necessarily loneliness in the traditional sense. It's not about bitterness or resentment. It's simply the quiet reality of this stage of life. You notice the changes in subtle ways. The invitations don't come as often. The gatherings are fewer. The neighbors you once chatted with may have moved away. Even when you don't crave constant company, the absence of connection starts to echo. And so, you find yourself turning to your memories, not only out of nostalgia, but as a way to keep people close. The laughter of old friends, the routines of family dinners, the little moments you once took for granted, they all become treasures. It's a way of holding on to the presence of those who mattered, even if they can't always be physically near anymore. And here's the truth. There is nothing weak or shameful about feeling this shift. It's not a flaw in your character or a sign of loneliness you can't overcome. It's simply one of the realities of life at this age. Almost everyone goes through it, but few talk about it openly. That's why being honest about it matters so much. Because once you see it clearly, you can begin to respond. Not by trying to hold on to crowds of the past, but by cherishing the depth of a few real, lasting connections. When the social circle gets smaller, the few bonds that remain become more meaningful than ever. It could be a lifelong friend who still checks in. It could be a younger family member who takes the time to sit and really listen. It could even be the connection you nurture with yourself through reflection and storytelling. When the noise fades, what remains is more weight, more value, more depth. And as your world shifts in terms of connection, there's another reality that tends to catch people off guard. The way small health problems no longer stay small. In your younger years, a cough or a cold might have come and gone without much thought. A bruise would fade quickly, a stumble would be forgotten by the end of the day, and your body always seemed to bounce back as if it had an invisible safety net. But after 80, the rules change. That same small cold lingers longer than expected. A bruise may take weeks, not days, to disappear. A stumble, something you might have laughed about before, now has a potential to turn into weeks of recovery, sometimes even involving therapy or surgery. It's not just that the body slows down. It's that recovery itself becomes less predictable. The margin for error shrinks. Forgetting to drink enough water, skipping a meal, or missing a few hours of sleep can throw off your whole system in ways you never noticed before. You may still feel strong, and in many ways you are, but resilience no longer works behind the scenes the way it once did. Now it requires your attention. You have to be intentional about rest, hydration, and care. This shift can be frustrating, especially if you've always prided yourself on being active, independent, or tough. It can feel like your body is betraying you, no longer standing by your side in the way it used to. But here's a different way to see it. This awareness, while challenging, is actually a kind of power. When you notice the changes, you can adapt. You can give your body what it needs instead of pushing it beyond its limits. You can slow down without giving up. You can treat yourself with more patience and gentleness, which is not a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. And sometimes the strongest act of all is allowing yourself to heal fully, without guilt or impatience. Recovery is no longer about bouncing back fast. It's about bouncing back right. And when you allow yourself that grace, you protect the strength you still have instead of wearing it down. If you're still here with me, listening to these truths and finding them valuable, I'd love for you to comment number 2 below. It lets me know you're part of this conversation and that you're taking something from it. And if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. Your support helps us keep creating content that's meant to inform, inspire, and connect with people like you. One of the things that really surprises people in their 80s is how something that once felt so small, so ordinary, suddenly turns into something that carries weight. I'm talking about the way little health issues start to show up differently. A simple cold that used to be gone in a couple of days suddenly lingers for a week or two. A bruise from bumping into the corner of a table doesn't fade overnight anymore. It takes its time, weeks even. And a stumble that in your younger years might have been brushed off with a laugh suddenly leaves you with swelling, soreness, or even a possibility of needing a doctor. It's not that the body is giving up on you. It's that the body you've lived in all these years has shifted into a new rhythm. The margin for error gets smaller, and what used to be automatic now demands attention. And here's the thing, most people don't talk about this. Doctors might brush it off as part of getting older. Family members sometimes downplay it, telling you not to worry. But you notice it. You feel it. The recovery times that used to be quick and almost invisible now take effort, patience, and adjustment. There's a frustration that comes with that, especially for people who've always been strong, independent, or proud of their resilience. It can almost feel like a betrayal, like your body is no longer on your side. But the truth is, it's not about weakness. It's about awareness. Your body is speaking to you in new ways, and listening closely can become one of the most powerful tools you have. Think about it like this. When you were younger, you could skip a meal, stay up too late, or push yourself through exhaustion and still bounce back. That bounce back ability was happening behind the scenes without you having to think about it. But after 80, the bounce back slows, and your body asks you to participate in your own care more intentionally. Forgetting to drink enough water or pushing through fatigue isn't just uncomfortable. It can knock your whole system off balance. That doesn't mean you're fragile. It means the rules of the game have changed, and now you win by playing smarter, not harder. And yes, it can be frustrating. It can feel like limitations are closing in, like independence is slipping away one small step at a time. But here's a different perspective. What if the stage of life isn't about proving toughness, but about protecting what you still have? What if the strongest thing you can do now is give yourself permission to rest, to heal, to slow down without feeling guilty about it? When you adjust with compassion toward yourself, you're not giving up, you're taking control. And this isn't just about physical changes. The unpredictability of health at this age can affect your confidence and your peace of mind too. Worrying about a stumble, wondering if you'll recover quickly from an illness, or noticing your energy fade more often, those thoughts can weigh heavily. But when you accept that these shifts are natural and not personal failings, You can approach them with wisdom instead of fear. Your body is different now, yes, but you still hold the experience, the awareness, and the power to navigate these changes with grace. Here's where it becomes empowering. When you pay attention to the signals your body sends, you can catch small problems before they grow into big ones. That little ache, that sudden fatigue, that dizziness. It's your body's way of asking you to pause, to hydrate, to check in. It's not weakness. It's communication. And when you respond with care, you build a partnership with yourself that can actually make these years feel more manageable, even more meaningful. If you're nodding along right now and thinking, yes, I felt this too, let me know in the comment below. Write number 2, so I'll know this part of the conversation resonated with you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to do that now. And turn on the bell so you never miss our next video. Your support keeps this community alive, and it helps us keep creating content that informs, inspires, and reminds you that you're not walking this path alone. Now let's look at another shift that sneaks in quietly but can leave one of the biggest emotional marks. The way visibility changes as you age. When you were younger, you probably walked into a room and felt your presence ripple through it. People noticed. They listened. They looked to you for stories, for advice, even for leadership. But somewhere along the way, something changes. You're in the same room, and suddenly it feels like your presence doesn't command the same space. Conversations move past you more quickly. Sometimes people talk over you, not out of cruelty, but out of habit, as if they assume you finished. And in group settings, even among family, you might feel like your words take longer to land, or don't land at all. This isn't about being ignored outright. It's about the subtle erosion of visibility, the sense that the world sees your age before it sees your humanity. It's as if the culture has quietly shifted a focus on youth, speed, and novelty, while forgetting the depth that only comes with time. That can sting. It can leave you feeling muted, even invisible. And the grief of that invisibility is real. But let's take a pause here, because invisibility is not the same as absence. You are still here. Your voice still carries weight, whether or not people always slow down to hear it. The world may not notice you first anymore, but those who take the time to truly listen, those who sit with your humor, your wisdom, your lived experience, they're the ones who really matter. They're the ones worth your energy. So instead of retreating, instead of letting silence define you, lean in, share your stories, speak your truth, even if you have to repeat yourself. Let your presence be a reminder what dignity, endurance, and perspective truly look like. You may not be the loudest in the room anymore, but you are certainly the most seasoned, and there's a quiet power in that. Sometimes the world underestimates the strength of those who've lived the longest. They forget that you've already walked through storms, losses, changes, and challenges that they may not yet imagine. That experience doesn't fade with age, it deepens. And while society might not always recognize it, you can choose to honor it yourself and share it generously with those who are willing to listen. If you've ever felt overlooked or invisible in social spaces, I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below and let us know how you've navigated it, or what helped you hold on to your sense of worth when others fail to notice it. You might be surprised how much your story could encourage someone else who feels the same way. And remember, this journey isn't about fading into the background. It's about redefining how you show up in the world. Even when the spotlight shifts, you may not always be front and center, but you're still a presence that matters. One of the hardest truths about growing older, especially past 80, isn't just what happens inside your body. It's what quietly disappears around you. Your daily life, once full of errands, familiar routines, faces you recognize in every corner, begins to feel smaller. Not in a dramatic collapse, but in subtle pieces. You might notice yourself going out less often. Maybe the effort of leaving the house takes more planning than it used to. Maybe the places you once loved to visit, restaurants, community centers, even a neighbor's front porch, aren't there anymore. Sometimes it's not even your choice. Friends move away. Stores close. Neighbors change. Slowly, almost without realizing it, your world contracts. And this shrinking of daily life comes with its own emotional weight. At first, it feels like background noise, just a little extra quiet, a little more space in your day. But over time, it becomes heavier. Even for the most independent and self-sufficient souls, there's something unsettling about the absence of what was once familiar. The coffee shop where you knew the owner, the street where you waved at children on their way to school, the visits that once punctuated your week. Their absence is a kind of grief, not because you've done anything wrong, but because life is always changing. This grief isn't weakness. It's love for what once was. It's attachment to routines and people who gave your days meaning. And when those routines fade, you feel it. Yet, here's the part most people don't realize. Even as the world narrows in one sense, it can expand in another. Expansion at this stage of life doesn't always come from travel or new hobbies or big adventures. Sometimes it comes from depth instead of width. What does that mean? It means a single conversation with someone who truly listens can mean more than 100 casual chats. It means a new friendship, even with someone younger, can bring surprising light into your life. It means sharing your stories, your humor, and your reflections can open doors for others, while also giving you a renewed sense of purpose. You don't need a wide, busy world to feel alive. You need one that still holds connection, joy, and meaning. And that's still possible, even as daily life looks different. So maybe you call that one friend, even if distance separates you. Maybe you join a group online, even if it feels unfamiliar at first. Maybe you take that short walk around the block, not because it's a grand outing, but because it keeps you connected to the air, the sky, the ground beneath your feet. The world might look smaller, but smaller doesn't mean over. It means evolving. And in that evolution, there is still plenty of space for laughter, for connection, and for joy. If you're still here, still listening and finding value in these words, let me know in the comments by writing number 4. Your engagement lets me know you're not just watching, but truly reflecting on these insights. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to do that and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. Your support allows us to keep creating thoughtful content like this for you and for so many others walking this path. Now, let's talk about something that unsettles almost everyone at some point: the unpredictability of your own body. This is one of the most frustrating realities of life after 80. One day, you wake up clear-headed, strong, steady. You feel ready to face the day. The next morning, without warning, you feel weaker, slower, unsteady on your feet. Sometimes your hands don't grip the way they did yesterday. Sometimes your knees decide they won't cooperate. Sometimes fatigue arrives out of nowhere, forcing you to sit when all you wanted was to keep moving. This unpredictability is tough, not just because of the physical limitations it brings, but because of what it does to your confidence. You've trusted your body for decades. You knew what to expect from it. Now, the rules seem to change without notice, and that can make you second-guess even simple choices. Should you go for that walk? Or will your balance betray you? Should you commit to that visit? Or will fatigue arrive out of nowhere? That uncertainty can make you feel smaller, more hesitant, less free. And yes, it's frustrating. It feels unfair. But here's where perspective matters. While your body may not be consistent anymore, your response to it can be. Flexibility becomes your new strength. Adaptability becomes your shield. Instead of fighting unpredictability, you learn to flow with it. You prepare for good days while also accepting slower ones. You pace yourself. You listen more closely to what your body is telling you, and you respect those signals instead of pushing them aside. This isn't surrender. It's strategy. Think about it. If your body changes the rules, you change your approach. You stretch. You hydrate. You rest when needed. You check in with your doctor, not only when something is wrong, but to learn how to stay a step ahead. Knowledge becomes your anchor in uncertain waters. And every time you adjust wisely, you take back a measure of control. Your body may be unpredictable, but you're still in charge of how you meet those changes. And that's the heart of this stage of life. Not fighting against the changes, but navigating them with wisdom. You're not powerless. You're experienced. You've already adapted through countless seasons of life. This is simply another one. So, let's bring all of this together. We've walked through the shrinking of social worlds, the way small health issues grow, the quiet loss of visibility, the narrowing of daily life, and the unpredictability of the body. Each of these shifts can feel harsh. Each of them can catch you off guard, but acknowledging them doesn't mean you're giving up to decline. It means you're choosing to face reality with open eyes, and in doing so, you give yourself the chance to live more fully, more wisely, and more freely. And here's where you come in. I want to hear from you. What stood out most in today's conversation? Which of these realities have you noticed in your own life, or in the life of someone close to you? Share it in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Maybe you'll encourage someone who feels invisible. Maybe you'll give hope to someone struggling with unpredictability. Maybe your words will remind someone that shrinking worlds don't mean empty ones. Because here's the ultimate truth. Aging doesn't take away your value. It doesn't strip away your worth. What it does is deepen you. It gives you a perspective no younger person can hold. It gives you a kind of strength that comes only from enduring, from surviving, from loving, from losing, and from still showing up. And when we share those truths openly, we create a community of strength that can outlast even the harshest changes of age. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for sharing your journey with us. If you found value in today's video, please give a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with someone you think could use this reminder. Your support doesn't just help us, it helps others find these messages at the exact time they need them most. Aging may bring unexpected realities, but together we can face them with courage, wisdom, and even renewed joy.